Yes, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Dynasty Hot Seat. It is the only Dynasty show out there that is a certified inferno. Today we got the GOAT, the greatest of all time. It's Kev White from the Fantasy Wildcard Crew, one of the best guys in the business, one of the nicest guys in the business. He's got some hints, he's got some tips. He's going to show you a team. He's going to tell me what I'm doing wrong, which is probably a lot, and we're going to change my team. We're going to look at his team. We're getting ready for stardom sit-ems for this week in the NFL. So, without further delay, let's hit the intro music and let's get going. I always get so excited for these kind of shows, Kev. I'm not going to lie. Anytime anyone from the wild card is on, I just love it. So, although I've got a small confession to make.
Oh, go for it.
We didn't even talk about this off air. Like, I have a small confession. Like, ever since myself and Hannah and Paul started the wild card rewind, I think I need to up my game with the hot seat intro music. I don't know if I need to change it because the wild card rewind intro music is the best. It's the best out there. It can't be beaten. So I need to find something just as catchy. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, first of all, Wildcard Rewind. That is such a tune. Like, how can you not smile and just want to take your top off and all sorts when that comes on? But I actually really like the Dynasty Hot Seat intro. It's got a bit of a Nirvana feel to it, like
a bit of a
bit grungy,
to it, right? Yeah,
early 90s grunge to it. You want to just rock out, really. So, whatever you decide to do, if you can get something to the level of Wildcard Rewind intro, then
I don't know.
Crack on. But I really like it. I'm a fan.
What I need to do is I need to film one day, like, for a bit of behind the scenes for everyone. Like, you can't really see what's going on below the deck here, but below where you can see me, there's a load of videos. And when the intro video is playing, you can't see what everyone's doing. But me and Hannah and Paul are like absolutely like loving it, whatever they do. So I'll have to film that and release that one day so you can see what we're doing. So it's great fun. Yeah.
In the extras.
Yeah, exactly. We'll do that in the extras. So guys, if you're listening, obviously, hopefully you're already listening and subscribed over at the Wildcard Rewind and also at the Fantasy Wildcard Podcast and the Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty channels. And obviously, you know who this guy is. I feel like he's right behind me. He's still on the Hall of Fame after all this time. He's still there. It's Kev, the Dynasty GOAT. Mate, brilliant to have you back on the show again. How you doing?
Yeah, just thank you for having me on. It's great to have a chat in season when the bullets are flying, and it's so fast paced with lineups and trades, DFS, all sorts of goodness. But Dynasty is the core of it all for me, so it's going to be great to talk some lineups and I'll share one of mine and we'll have a look through one of yours. So it's going to be a great time.
Yeah, exactly. And before we get to the lineups, we're just going to talk some hints and tips for Dynasty players. It could be specific to this week coming up, or it could just be in general. So, Kev, you got a few hints and tips for us about Dynasty fantasy football?
Yeah, I've got one main tip. Really, it fits in really nice with this week being week 4 going into week 5, and I did a recent thread earlier on this week, just highlighting that week 4 should be the busiest week of the year for trades, and that's whether you're a contender, a rebuilding team. This should be your busiest week of the season. And the reason why is if you get into the market first, you get to set the price, you get the best deals, you get the most out of your assets. So if you get into one now, you've got all of the season to get your fantasy points. Or if you're picking up an injured player, for example, it's a way of losing points and getting a better draft pick. Plus, there's the other factor that you're going to have more potential trade partners right now, because as the season goes on and them teams gain more clarity, they're going to reduce. So I've got an analogy at the end. I'll leave it for now. But Yeah, so little tease, but it's kind of like if you're a contending team, you're looking to buy a top running back. Let's say in your league, there's 3 rebuilding teams looking to sell a running back right now. If you leave it till week 8 to 10, 2 of those teams have probably already sold those running backs, meaning that you've got 1 potential trade partner left.
Yeah.
So essentially, they are dictating the price. You'll be paying an inflated price based on what others have already done. It'll be more expensive. You've got no leverage. Player prices go up towards the end of the season when the playoffs is. So essentially, you've got to pay what they're wanting to sell for. Whereas if you do your business now, you've potentially got 3 deals you can have a look through, pick the best one, find your trade partner, you save losing value to your overall roster, you're going to get the most out of your assets. So the analogy, which I'll come on to now, it's a little bit like fishing. So fishing, if you go fishing in the biggest pond right now, that's got the most fish, it's going to be great. If you leave it later on in the season, it's going to be harder to catch 1 fish in a pond rather than catching plenty of fish in a pond right now. So go fishing, people.
I love that. Go fishing. I actually compared trading to fishing a few weeks ago. I think it felt like
that.
It's like, I was like, I said, it's like I don't go fishing, but I feel like it must feel like when you spend like an hour on your phone, like sending out trade offers, and then you just kind of sitting waiting, right? I feel like that must be what fishing is like. Only I'm just obviously not out in the league.
You can either go for a really nice bait and get something pretty quick, or you can just keep slogging out something that's not ideal, and eventually you might get something.
Yeah,
but you might be sat there all day.
I mean, you could be. Oh, this is a terrible. I was going to make a Rashad Bateman joke. I'm not. I can't go that far. But
that's bait, man.
So everyone go fishing, get those good deals, and like I can remember this time last year on teams, and maybe slight spoiler to later, on teams where I knew I was a contender, but I'd just been shafted by injuries. I was like, well, in for a penny, I'm going to buy all the injured players and make a run for it next year. So I went in and I got not just injured players, but I tried to buy as many Calvin Ridleys, Deshaun Watsons, J.K. Dobbins as I could. I got loads of them. So hopefully going forward, that'll pay off a little bit. J.K. Dobbins also obviously coming a little bit better this season, but Ridley and Watson more of a next year kind of thing. But trying to get as much of them as possible. So go out and go fishing and see what you got. And we're gonna have a look then, Kev. We're gonna start with one of my teams in a league I'm in with a certain Mr. Ali Cook, who we met kind of the Grill, an absolute legend of the game. So let's have a little look at what my team's looking like and what you would do for this week coming up. So let's have a run through of what my starting lineup was for last week. I've not changed it, so let's see how we're looking. We got Breece Hall. We've actually got Joe Burrow to start with. So we got Joe Burrow, then we've got Breece Hall and Clyde Edwards-Helaire sitting in at running back. Now, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I don't know. You can't really on here. It's not the best on here, but I got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Speaking of last year, for pennies on the dollar last year. So players like this, they can come back and make comebacks. So just like you were saying, Kev, sometimes it's good to go out fishing because Clyde Edwards-Helaire all of a sudden is a valuable asset again, right? So I've got Breece Hall and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I've got Terry McLaurin and Michael Pittman Jr., one of my favorites in at wide receiver. Then at tight end, I've got TJ Hawkinson and Tyler Higbee. Then Elijah Moore in the flex. And look who we have.
Oh, there he is.
Adam Thielen. Got him for a 3rd round pick last year. Absolute steal. Yeah, so we got Adam Thielen in there. Seen him live last week, Kevin. Live.
So jealous.
What a specimen he is. Like, just absolutely brilliant. Tell you what, he was way better in person than he even looks. Like, everyone was way better in person. He was so much faster than you think. You think Adam Thielen, like you think, sort of end zone threat, like old guy. He is absolutely rapid. So Adam Thielen, what a guy. And then we've got Carson Wentz sitting in at the super flex for now. But on the bench, Marcus Mariota, Baker Mayfield, Melvin Gordon, Ronald Jones, Alexander Madison, Dearness Johnson, DeAndre Swift, Zach Moss, Michael Thomas, DJ Chark, Chase Claypool, KJ Osborne, AJ Green, Julio Jones and Austin Hooper, along with, we talked about it earlier, Calvin Ridley's there. He's on a lot of my team, sitting there ready for next year. Sam Darnold's on there as well on IR. I mean, I may as well release him, but I've got a couple of IR slots free. So then we've got Amari Rodgers, Michael Carter, John Bates. Is his name John? Jay Bates, John Bates, yes. Pierre Strong and Calvin Austin, along with, look at this, a 2023 third from, Ali Cook 89. Wow, look at that. Giving up his 23 thirds. What a mug.
Any Alexander's good by me, so we'll keep that
in. Brilliant. So let's have a look. We'll go through it position by position and see if you think I should change anything. So let's start with quarterbacks here. So Joe Burrow, he's probably not going anywhere, right? But in the flex position, super flex position here, we got Carson Wentz. Okay, so let's highlight Carson Wentz because he's more likely to change, right?
Yeah.
So Wentz, who's up against the Titans, my other options are Mariota, who's against Tampa Bay, and Baker Mayfield, who is against the 49ers this week. Who would you start out of those three guys?
I think if it was a game where there was no opposing team and it was just based on talent and fantasy upside, I think Mariota would be in with a shout if it wasn't for last week's absolute faceplant in a favourable matchup at home to the Cleveland Browns. He stunk the place up, really. It was a big disappointment that affected Kyle Pitts and Drake London as well. Yeah. But this one's really easy for me just based on the matchups. Mariota's at Tampa Bay, Mayfield's against the 49ers, two really solid defenses there. Simple pick for me is Carson Wentz. Tennessee at home, they're an easy pass defense comparable to Tampa and San Fran. So, plus Wentz has been doing great for fantasy. That defense of Washington's not anything near league average. No. So yeah, old Philly boy Carson Wentz in the Superflex.
Yeah, I think I'm completely in agreement with you. Carson Wentz, I think, is one of the most fascinating people to own in Dynasty because he's a far, far, far better fantasy player and producer than he is an NFL player and producer. So while you do get the fantasy points and you get the weekly, like week-to-week points from Carson Wentz, every Carson Wentz owner in Dynasty will tell you that he's a ticking time bomb as well because he might not get another shot after this.
I agree. I think just the fact that he went from Philadelphia, met up with his old coach in Indy, Frank Reich, and you thought, oh, that's him sorted now, and he got the plug pulled after 1 year with his former OC in Philly, and if that's not a worrying sign for people, then I don't know what is. The fact that he's got this really strong relationship and he's had the plug pulled after 1 year. It wasn't a 1 year deal either. And then obviously coming back to the NFC East, it's last chance saloon really as a starting QB. After this job, he's going to be going to a backup role somewhere. I don't think it's a long-term solution. I think if he's someone on your dynasty teams, even as your QB3, I will be worried long-term. And I think it's a great spot to move off with a fast start he's had to the season.
Yeah, I think that's right. But I mean, I've been trying to sell Carson Wentz for about 4 years now, unsuccessful. I don't think I've ever managed to sell a share of Carson Wentz. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. It is.
Yeah. I just can't do it. No one wants him. But we'll see. Hopefully he'll continue to produce and maybe someone maybe Ali will buy him off me in this league, right? Yeah.
Pity buy.
Yeah, exactly. We'll sell him twice. So let's keep Carson Wentz in there then, and let's have a look at running back. Now, Breece Hall is questionable. I don't know. Do you know anything about that Kev? I'm not read up on Breece Hall being questionable.
No, I think he's on the injury report, but nothing too serious. So he'd be one of my two that I put in there, no doubt.
Yeah, so let's leave Breece in there. And no, this was the league I got a trade offer. Slight tangent, actually, but we'll come back.
Yeah,
I have not accepted this yet, but I've
left it in your inbox there.
Yeah, I've left it in here. Look at this. What do you think of this? Kareem Hunt and CeeDee Lamb coming to me for Michael Carter and Breece Hall.
Personally, I don't see it. I think Breece Hall is someone I want to be keeping. CeeDee Lamb is an appealing asset. I think before the season, CeeDee was probably going a little bit before Breece Hall in your startups, but Lamb's value's dipped. Breece Hall he's had one good week that's got people's minds working again, because for some reason people were out on him after a couple of weeks as a rookie running back, which is a notorious position, starting slow as a rookie. I want Breece Hall. I think he has got running back one ceiling. I don't see that with CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking as well. That's why I didn't smash except right away. I think, especially with running backs this year, right? They all look terrible. So I'm like, I want to keep a hold of who I can. So I think I'm going to keep a hold of Breece Hall, although great offer. But yeah, it just doesn't quite make me want to smash that accept button. So I'll maybe hit the reject after and keep a hold of my 1-2 punch with Hall and Carr. So Hall's definitely staying. So let's have a look if we're wanting to replace Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the divisional matchup against the Raiders, who finally looked a bit decent there last week. So my options come in are Melvin Gordon, who obviously is now working in pretty much an empty backfield. I know Mike Boone is there, but Mike Boone sucks. So it's like that's an empty backfield, right?
You don't want to know what I've been bidding on Boone and Latavius then. Every league I've been blowing the cash just because like it's not that necessarily like the talent as such of Boone or Murray. It's that there's a path there to get snaps on what should be a better offense than it showed. So, and plus in Dynasty, you're not going to get great options on the waiver wire later on in the year, so you might as well throw a bit of fab and see what happens.
Exactly right. You get your fab back every year anyway. And tell you what, Latavius Murray, right, caught my eye at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Not gonna lie, I was like, he was running, and I was like, who is that guy? He looks great. And then Luke was like, that's Latavius Murray. He's like, that is not Latavius Murray. But there he was scoring touchdowns. What an absolute legend.
He's still big and fast at 32 years old, however he is. He's a machine.
Absolutely. So we got Gordon there. We got Ronald Jones, who's not played a single snap for Kansas City, but I don't know. I can't quite bring myself to release him just yet, but it's getting kind of towards that time for him. Alexander Madison, who Dalvin Cook is fit, so he's not really applicable. Dearness Johnson. Now, DeAndre Swift is still questionable, but I'm pretty sure he's out, essentially, right?
Yeah. I saw a blurb earlier today that the plan is to hold him out after the bye week, which is next week.
Yeah.
There's no need to really rush him back. Jamal Williams did great in his absence, so no need to rush him back for someone that's been fragile in the past, and you've got your bye week to get him fully recovered.
Yeah, exactly. And they're going to lose by 3 points if he plays or not anyway. So it's fine, right? So they're not going to rush him anyway. So and then Zach Moss, who's been more fantasy relevant than I ever expected, but probably not startable. So I think for me, Kev, it's between two people. It's between Melvin Gordon, who's playing against Indy, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who's up against the Raiders. So what do you think for those two?
Yeah, essentially it was the same decision for me when I was looking at this. I guess when this goes live, the Thursday night game might have played, so I'll try not to be too harsh on Melvin Gordon in case he's gone off. But
it'll be out just before.
Oh, just before. Okay, so I think you've just got to stick with Edwards-Helaire. The fact that it's not been pretty. He has been getting the fantasy points through, touchdowns through, receptions. The Chiefs, it's a high-powered offense. Yeah. You know what his role is. He's doing great with it. Melvin Gordon, while he's the lead back, and I do expect short-term he's going to be great for the Broncos, while Boone and Murray get integrated. Just feel short week. He's questionable as well. He got a bit of a bang at the weekend. So he's someone that I'd consider for flex. We'll come on to that in a bit. But I think as the running back, I prefer to go with Edwards-Helaire on this one.
Yeah, I think I'm in complete agreement with you as well, Kev. So let's keep CEH locked in there for now. And let's have a look at the wide receiver position where I've got Terry McLaurin and Michael Pittman Jr. McLaurin up against Tennessee and Michael Pittman obviously up against Denver in the Thursday night game. And for me, Michael Pittman is a must start pretty much all the time. He's the obvious number one in that offense. Terry McLaurin, right? I've again another player I have in this league. I'm trying to sell him and nobody wants him. And all I see online is a bunch of Terry McLaurin truthers, but there's no one to be found in this league. This is my only share of Terry McLaurin. Nobody wants him. What are your opinions on Scary Terry?
I'm in 22 leagues and I've not got him in one league. That should give you an indication of my thoughts. I think he's not a terrible player, but his price has been inflated for me in previous seasons where he was hovering around the sort of wide receiver 1 range, which for what he produced fantasy wise, it was a bit mind blowing. It sounds like a lot of your league don't like Washington with Wentz and McLaurin, so maybe you need a few games where Washington potentially win. So before you try selling, but McLaurin's someone that is good, but I don't see him as a top 25 wide receiver in Dynasty.
No, neither do I. So let's see if we can get Terry McLaurin replaced for anyone on the bench. We got Elijah Moore and Adam Thielen in the flex kind of positions here. This is kind of a special flex here with Thielen. It's just wide receiver or running back you can play here. We'll maybe get to that a little bit later. And let's have a look at what options I have on the bench. Michael Thomas and DJ Chark. Oh, I mean, obviously you're really suggesting DJ Chark play, but he is questionable. So we'll have to see. Chase Claypool, KJ Osborne, AJ Green, and Julio Jones. AJ Green and Julio Jones just, I think, permanently have that questionable next to their name now. I don't think that ever goes away. So I don't think I've got anybody else unless I want to bring up Amari Rodgers or Calvin Austin, which I don't. So there are a few options. Thomas and Chark stand out, as actually does Julio Jones, but it's kind of up to what kind of injuries they think they have. Is anyone standing out to you there in terms of replacing Terry McLaurin? Claypool's obviously there as well.
Yeah, I think from the bench guys, Claypool, if he was still with Trubisky, I think it's interesting. With Pickett, he got the one target, which was an interception, and then I don't think he got another look. So he'd be really tough to trust. I think AJ Green, I don't really want to get involved with that. Currently, he's had a poor start to the season without Hopkins in the lineup, which we would have expected him to do really well. Julio's interesting because he's had 2 days of practice, I believe, now. Tampa, Atlanta's a high over-under this week. It's expecting to be a bit of a points fest, although I'm a little bit dubious on that with Mariota and no Cordell Patterson. But maybe still. Vegas don't get it wrong often, so you've got to take that into consideration. Plus, Julio, traditionally against the Falcons, well, it's his... What we're saying, it's his homecoming, isn't it?
Yeah.
I
think it's Julio.
I think I'm sticking with Terry in the starting wide receiver spot, but flex wise, Julio's got to be considered.
Okay, well let's leave Terry McLaurin up there then for now, and then I said at the start Michael Pittman Jr. is a lock. Are you agreeing with that? You think he's like dead set, locked in?
Yeah, just with Jonathan Taylor not being there as well, it's a tough matchup against Denver and their corners. But volume wise, you've got to be playing Michael Pittman. You've got to be playing him in any league, really. Yeah.
Are you paying a 23 first for Michael Pittman yet?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
but I think the thing is, I'm not paying a 23 first for
anyone.
Literally anybody that's not in top 10 at the position for running back, wide receiver, QB.
Yeah, I cannot wait to start drafting. This is like 3 years, like at least 2 years worth of planning and preparation, gathering them all. I can't wait to start spending the 23 first. I've only got one in this league, I think, but I've got a couple of leagues with 4 or 5, so I can't wait.
It's going to be amazing.
Can't wait. Let's move on to tight end, and we got TJ Hawkinson, who, you know what? Tell me if I'm crazy here, right? I might be. I'm slightly afraid that TJ Hawkinson used up too many touchdowns and fantasy points last week. And it's all going to average out eventually, but this is going to be a big chunk. So he's going to score a little bit less like in the next couple of weeks because he's not good enough to keep doing that all the time. Is that a weird... He scored too many touchdowns last week, right?
I think it makes total sense. I mean, firstly, Hawkinson's not been a touchdown scorer in the first 3-4 years of his career.
Yeah,
he's been getting by with a lot of targets and the points per reception. I think last week, what was the best week of his career? He actually came up on our Dynasty show on Tuesday as someone that we're still looking to sell high on him because there is a little bit of doubt longer term if he can ever get to that ceiling. But I think for this week and the format with 2 tight ends, he's a must start. Even with that questionable tag, I don't think he's going to be missing any time. You got to be starting TJ.
Exactly. And the only other person here is Tyler Higbee. Now, I think I'm quite thin at tight end in this league, which is odd because I'm usually strong at tight end. Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm really thin at tight end. I got Austin Hooper or John Bates, and, I'm Austin Hooper. I don't actually know how Austin Hooper's doing. I just know that Austin Hooper has like the worst yards after catch kind of like rating because he just doesn't do it. We're just going to keep Tyler Higbee there, right?
Yeah, Tyler Higbee's leading the league in tight end targets, I believe. Again, It's a game with Dallas where that's going to be a solid over-under as well. So, again, especially with what's on the bench in Austin Hooper.
Yeah, I think,
So
I might have to go out and try and trade from. I think I have done before in this league. I'll try and maybe try a bit harder to go and trade for some more tight ends there and see if I can get a bit more depth. And now we're on to like the 2 spots that I think could possibly change here. We've got Elijah Moore in the flex there, where we could have a wide receiver, we could have a running back, or I suppose Austin Hooper could come in there as well. And then, I mean, Adam Thielen, obviously, not going anywhere, right? Locked in, playing the Chicago Bears. Kev, he's your guy. Tell everyone why they should have Adam Thielen on their dynasty team.
I mean, firstly, he's been grossly undervalued in startups and existing leagues. You bought him for a third. I bought him actually on the clock in the draft for like the 209 or something in a league where I'm a contender this offseason. Yes, he's touchdown dependent, but he's a wide receiver 2 on what's perceived to be a pass-first offense, a high-flying offense with Justin Jefferson. Plus, you got the factor in that if Jefferson ever got an injury, missed a couple of games, Thielen's a de facto 1. He's not going to get the same target share as Justin Jefferson, but he's going to be a massive value. And in your flex, he's for this lineup, he's someone you've definitely got to consider.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I've got to start Adam Thielen, Kev, as a tribute to you, right? I can't take Adam Thielen. So we're not even going to look at replacing him. We are going to have a look at Elijah Moore, though, right? Obviously, the Jets. I mean, the Jets are full of dynasty darlings, which is pretty cool for them. And Zach Wilson, bit rocky when he first came back there last week, but actually by the end of it, got into the swing of things a bit more. So hopefully we'll see Elijah Moore kind of pick up a bit. But then he also, I mean, Garrett Wilson looks the better of the 2 receivers at the moment. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. So I'm a bit shaky about Elijah there. And my options are Melvin Gordon, we talked about earlier, obviously. And then Michael Thomas, DJ Shark, Chase Claypool, and Julio Jones are the other options there. Is anyone in particular standing out for you there to replace my main man, Elijah Moore, or you think it's stick with him?
Yeah, I mean, Thielen's obviously a definite. He's got that. He's got that bottom 6, a match against Chicago, bottom 6 in DVOA against wide receiver 2s. Thank you for that, T-Strack. But Elijah Moore actually had more yards and receptions than Garrett Wilson in Zach Wilson's first game back, but he was second on the team behind Corey Davis, who had a big day. I think one thing I would consider when you're looking at your flexes is considering your opponent. And I know, speaking to you before the show, that this is a matchup where you are the favourite in this, so you can maybe play it a little bit safe and go for sort of proven volume, proven fantasy points.
Yeah.
So Elijah Moore, he's someone I would move off of on this one. And the guy that stands out to me is, I came up, we spoke about Melvin Gordon. I just think big role expected tonight. The Colts the last 3 weeks, so they've played James Robinson, 15.8 fantasy points. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 14.9. And then Derrick Henry last week, 23.7. On a short week, which is notorious for defense has been a little bit tired and giving up more yardage. So out of what's there, it come down to Elijah Moore, Julio, and Melvin Gordon. I think even though it is Julio's revenge game as such, you don't really need to be risking it in this particular week. And I just think Melvin Gordon's volume is really appealing to a team that has got a bit of risk in it already, a bit of upside with Wentz and McLaurin as a stack.
Yeah.
So, Gordon will be the pick in my eyes. Nice.
Let's get Melvin Gordon locked in there then, and hopefully he'll see the lion's share of the carries at the Broncos against Indiana, and then that's the team done because Thielen's not going anywhere. So starting this week in this league, I've got Joe Burrow at quarterback, Breece Hall and Clyde Edwards-Helaire as my running backs. I've got Terry McLaurin and Michael Pittman Jr. in at wide receiver. I've got TJ Hawkinson and Tyler Higbee. Then in the flexes, I got Melvin Gordon and Adam Thielen, and then Carson Wentz in at Superflex. Not a half bad team there, Kev. I'm pretty happy with that.
It's very solid. You have to let us know if it wins.
I will do. I'll let you know how I get on. Hopefully it wins. I mean, I sent you the picture of the team I'm playing, and I should win, barring,
a Carson Wentz meltdown.
Barring, Wentz meltdown. Like I had in my Scott Fishbowl team, I needed Matt Stafford to score 5 points. And what does he score? 4.75 points. We'll not get into that. I could talk all day about that. So let's have a look at one of your teams, Kev. So I'll add your team to the stream, and I'll let you take over mission control now and tell us about your team for this week and who you've got starting. So let's have a little look.
So I'll sort of set the scene a little bit on this one. This is a team where I've set my lineup. I have decided all my picks already.
Yeah.
It's a 10-team league, as you can see, and I've had a really unlucky last week actually. Jonathan Taylor, he's out. Javonte Williams, he's out. Cordell Patterson, he's out. I had Elijah Mitchell on IR already, so it's potentially thin at running back. The good news is running backs was one of the strengths of this team. So going through it, QB, we've got Ryan Tannehill in the lineup. Mentioned, obviously, the Wentz side of that matchup. I think Tannehill's a fine play. The opposite side.
Yeah.
Coming down to Superflex, Kyler Murray.
Oh, yeah.
He will be the first name on the team sheet, but what I like to do, because partly I've got a bit of OCD, but also I like to do it in date and time order. So with Tannehill playing at 6, Kyler Murray at 9:25, I always do it in that order. Plus, it just means if there is an injury, a late injury in warm-ups to Kyler Murray, I've got options to then move him out. If he's my starting QB and all my other QBs have played, then he's going to be sat there getting me a 0 with that for that week. My other options were Geno Smith, Joe Flacco, who was not playing, Bridgewater and Mariota.
Yeah.
It was a tough one between Tannehill and Bridgewater for me on this one.
Bridgewater's against the Jets.
Bridgewater's against the Jets. The guy I'm playing's got Jalen Waddle, so I was thinking if Waddle goes off, am I best having Teddy Bridgewater? But then part of me just thinks when it's a closely projected game between me and my opponent, I'm just going to pick my best team.
Yeah.
And just take it from there. I don't think there's a great deal of difference in Bridgewater or Tannehill from a floor or ceiling point of view. So I'm just going to pick my best team and not try and overplay myself as such. But then going back up.
The only worry there as well, though, Kev, are you not terribly worried about Kyler Murray's matchup this week?
That is pretty funny because it's against my Eagles, which it is a really tough matchup. But I do think in your Superflex leagues, if you've got a top 5, top 6 QB, he's playing every week. He's got to be matchup proof. You don't sit your studs. It is a tough matchup, but he has been doing a really good effort of padding his stats towards second half games when Cliff Kingsbury's being ignored by him.
Yeah.
So, Kyler Murray, I think he's going to have a nice garbage time display for fantasy, but hopefully the Eagles get the win.
Yeah.
And then running back, obviously, I mentioned all the injuries I had. Bench-wise, I'll look at bench first. You've got, Mike Boone's on there. Darrell Henderson. They're the main two. I think there's Latavius Murray as well. I might not. It's the league. He's there. Latavius.
Okay, he is. That's good. But I mean, to have all of those injuries at running back and still have AJ Dillon and Derrick Henry, you gotta be pretty happy, right? That's your options. Like, that's losing Jonathan Taylor and Cordell Patterson and Javonte Williams is a season killer for a lot of people. So still having AJ Dillon and Derrick Henry there. Yeah.
First of all, I'm lucky it's a 10-team league, but I think as well, I have really prioritized running back as an area I want to focus. Like my QBs are pretty shallow for a 10-team league, but I've just felt with this type of league and knowing the value of running back, that's something I want to be strong on. Whereas you do find a lot of leagues, everyone goes wild for QB.
Yeah.
I think in a 10-team league, though, because everybody's got 3 starters with 32 teams.
Yeah.
The sort of value, the pricing on QBs is more attainable and not as important. So you can get by with guys like Tannehill. But yeah, really happy with Dillon and Henry. They're actually similar guys, aren't the big dudes?
Very similar, yeah. And both catching passes this year, which no one really seen coming.
Yeah.
So I think those are definitely locks for me there, Kev. I think there's no one that you can really put in to replace them. And let's have a look at the wide receiver. I see Mike Evans peeking out there. So who else you got at the wide receiver position?
So again, it's time order. 6 o'clock games are in there.
Love it.
I also do it time order and also the projected points order on Sleeper, just because I like having it in order of what it should look like.
Oh, so you want it to just look like a streamline, like everything?
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. Nice.
So we've got Evans and Christian Kirk in there. Yeah. Obviously, it's a team I'm managing, so there's Adam Thielen, there's Deontay Johnson, and then with it going to a 9 o'clock game, you've got Deebo Samuel there.
Yeah.
Wide receiver-wise, not got a ton of options. Keenan Allen would have been a shout. He's questionable.
Yeah.
Again, with it being a couple of week injury, and I've got guys like Thielen, Deebo, Deontay, I'm not going to risk it with Keenan Allen. I think you don't bench your studs, but in this scenario, with him coming back from injury, playing in Cleveland, which, looking at the windy emoji there or whatever, I'm maybe listening to Matt the Weatherman later on this week, it's maybe something you don't want to get as involved with as you should. Richie James, he face planted this week. Yeah. And AJ Green's really the only other guy I'd consider, which I'm not.
No, I don't think you can really. I mean, Christian Kirk's been looking really, really good. And the Jags are playing, Houston this week, which should be a favorable matchup for them. It's not often the Jags are heavy favorites to win a game, but I think they are in this one. And then Mike Evans is Mike Evans. He's gonna absolutely crush it. Hopefully, against the Falcons there. And I can't see like Thielen and Johnson and Samuel. I just can't see anyone on there that would be replaced. So Kev, obviously you've done an absolutely cracking job at setting this lineup before the show, because I can't think of anybody I would really want to change out of those guys.
I appreciate your kind words, Mags. If Keenan Allen was available, he would be slotting in somewhere potentially. I even think with someone like Deontay Johnson, he's been underperforming, but they're going to be a 14-point underdog on the road at Buffalo. So he's going to be getting plenty of volume. Even though he's projected 10 points, you've got to follow that. Debo, he's Debo. Adam Thielen, we've spoke about him. So it kind of picks itself because I am weaker overall at wide receiver than running back.
Is that something you're maybe thinking then for this team? Like, obviously, your advice at the start of the show was go out and make some offers now. Are you looking at wide receiver to try and like bolster up wide receiver to make a kind of run at the title on this, or you're have to wait and see what happens this week before you decide?
I think with this team where it's at, I've got my 23 first. I'm not moving that at this stage of the season. I think it might be something I do very late on in the year in this league because it's so competitive. But because it's 10-team league, the playoffs, the 2 games, it's complete guesswork really. Any team can win that. It's so tight. There's a lot of luck involved. You have to get the right matchups, the right opponent, the right week. So I'm more inclined to just. I think I've done my business for this team already. I've done my fishing last season to have all the depth, and maybe my trades getting people back like Elijah Mitchell, like Jonathan Taylor, and seeing Cordell Patterson and seeing if they can push me over the top.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, best of luck in your matchup this week. That's looking like a really good team. Hopefully, we'll both come out with the win this week, and we'll see what happens. And Kev, that brings us to the end of the show. I just want to say, be an absolute pleasure once again having you on the show. And hey, guys, if you're listening, we know Kev's already on here on the Hall of Fame, but actually, we got Jay Stein and Murph sitting up at the top. Kev, this is your second crack at it. Can you make it back to the top and overthrow Murph, who's been there for so long? And Jay raised lots of money for charity getting there. So I mean, what a great guy. But Murph's up there just because everybody loves Murph, and that's why he's up there. But let's see if you can overthrow any of those two guys and move further up the rankings. So if you liked it, make sure you get over to YouTube, give a thumbs up, and let's see what we can do. And Kev, once again, do you just want to remind everyone where they can find you online and what you're up to before we go?
Yep, so you can follow me on Twitter at Dynasty_GOAT. I'm part of Fantasy Wildcard Dynasty, so at Wildcard Dynasty. We do our shows every Tuesday as a podcast, every Wednesday as a stream. Fantasy Wildcard, we're part of that together. It's a great bunch we've got going, absolute legends. Yep. In terms of content, the podcast is the main one, the stream is the main one, but I also been dabbling in DFS this year as well. So I release a thread on a Friday, and it's just giving a few of my hints and tips of what to look out for, how to set up your lineups, etc. So if you're into a bit of DFS, give it a look. Let me know your thoughts. It's been getting really nice response as well. So just let me know your thoughts, and thanks for having us on, Mags. We seem to be meeting a lot recently, but I'm not going to argue.
Oh, absolutely amazing. Yeah, anytime you come along the show, whenever you want. It's always a pleasure to have yourself and anyone from the Wildcard crew on the show. Absolute legends. Absolutely everyone. Honored to work with you all, and everyone listening as well. Thank you so much again for tuning in. Make sure you get those lineups set. Make sure, most importantly, you're keeping those teams lit. And we'll see you next week. Bye.